The Fuji X100 5 and 6 have become somewhat mythical cameras due primarily to their retro chic design, their vintage photography feels, and their tiny form factor, along with YouTubers hyping them up. A lot of YouTubers hyping them up. Meanwhile, Fuji, almost in secret, snuck a totally different camera onto the market that is not only capable of the same great photos, but also great video. In fact, it might be the most compact 6K camera on the market with some insane features at an excellent price that make it a fantastic all-rounder, and I can't believe that no one is talking about it. Let's fix that. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret because it's key to understanding why the hype surrounding the Fuji X100 series is kind of silly. But first, let's talk about the alternative to the X100, a Fuji camera that can take incredible video as well as photos, one that can do raw external recording and can shoot in 6K open gate. It's maybe the smallest 6K camera on the market and does all of this for only $1,300. It's not the XH2S, it's not the new XM5, I'm talking about the Fuji XS20, and it does everything the X100 cameras do, and more, for less. First, let's talk price. The X100 is currently $1,600 new. On the used market, it can actually cost more like $1,800 or $2,000 due to the scarcity of the product. This is where the lack of availability of a product and that hype surrounding the product has pushed its value far beyond the images it's capable of producing. Whereas many other Fuji cameras offer great value for money, the X100 is not the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
But if you want that X100 look in a similar form factor at a cheaper price, I think by far the best choice is the Fuji XS20. While the XS20 does not have the same retro look to its body or leaf shutter or internal ND as the X100, it is very compact and it is one of the smallest Fuji cameras on the market. And what it does have is an interchangeable lens mount, unlike the X100 series, which means you can put any Fuji X mount lens on it. While the X100 series limits you to its fixed 23mm pancake lens. Of course, you can purchase similar lenses for the XS20 to replicate the same field of view and form factor as the pancake lens should you wish to, but you can also expand out your lens set to include both wide and telephoto lenses. And if you're going to buy into a Fuji system, it's worth noting that they have a fantastic selection of third and first party lenses, and due to its ASPC sensor, these lenses are generally very affordable and compact. For example, this Sigma 2.8 18-50 zoom lens covers almost every possible shooting scenario and all my favorite focal ranges while being the tiniest zoom I've ever used and only costing $600. Bruh. The Fuji X mount is compatible with most other lens mounts if you buy the right adapter, so if you want to film with PL or EF lenses, you can, as long as you pair it with the right adapter. The XS20 amazing value propositions start with the fact that it can shoot an open gate 6K at up to 30 frames per second and has variety of 4K options at different bit rates up to 60 frames per second. It can also film in both F-Log and F-Log 2 for maximum dynamic range. In fact, the amount of codec options on this camera is unbelievable. You can choose so many different bit rates and resolution options that you can be really precise with how big you want your file sizes to be and how much information you want in each clip. There's only a handful of cameras that currently film in OpenGate, and they're all twice the size of the XS20 and twice the price. In fact, almost any camera this is competing with is twice its size. You can film 12-bit RAW to an external recorder with the XS20. Yes, this little baby cam can film B-RAW or ProRes RAW at 6.2K OpenGate. For comparison, the Panasonic S5 IIX, which I'm filming on now, doesn't allow for OpenGate RAW external recording. I mean, look at this sexy little setup. This mini Cinecam can pretty much do it all and fit in the palm of your hand.
It's a strange fate that we should suffer so much fear and doubt over so small a thing.
The XS20 is a great introduction to the Fuji lineup, and with its compact size, it's just a great camera to pick up and start filming or taking photos with in a way that a lot of the Sony and Canon cameras just can't replicate. Tiny yet powerful cameras are refreshing to use. If, like me, you're more used to building out your cameras and needing a whole camera bag full of accessories to feel at home. Look at some of my other cameras paired with a zoom lens beside this one. I mean, this camera can do higher resolution video than my A7 IV and A7S III, but its footprint is just so minimal. Are you traveling? Are you trying to keep a low profile? Want something you'll never get tired from carrying? The XS20 is just so versatile. And yes, the XS20 has both inbuilt image stabilization and autofocus. Although it's Fuji autofocus, and yeah, it can get a little hunty, but it's a lot better than no autofocus. I mean, this represents a much more versatile camera than the X100 series, and if you want to know the real secret of why the hype surrounding the X100 series is just hype, this is the secret. Those beautiful film simulation profiles you see in the X100 5 and 6, creating those retro-looking photos with film grain and different looks, those picture profiles, that look, that style, is available on every single Fuji camera, not just the X100s. That means you can buy almost any newish Fuji camera and get essentially the exact same image or something considerably better. So you don't need an X100 VI, you just need a Fuji, like the XS20. But the Fuji XS20 is not the perfect camera. It still has some of its own shortcomings that you should know about before considering if it's worth buying. First is APS-C, which means you don't get that gorgeous full frame separation in your images. And it also does really struggle in low light. This is not a low light camera. That small sensor needs a little bit more light than some of the other cameras on the market to really excel. Secondly, F-Log 2 has a base ISO of 1250. This makes the sensor very sensitive, and when you're filming in broad daylight, it means that you will need ND filters constantly. You are sort of constantly battling the sun if you want to stop down and introduce some separation to your image. And this image is sharp. It is a very sharp image. You are really getting a 6K image sharp. I mean, it's crispy, man. Dare I say it, even sharper than Sony. Now, this is a bit of a turnoff because it adds to the sort of digitalness of that image. However, once you apply a LUT and a bit of grading and film grain, you can absolutely get a great image out of it. Now, another con is the fact that the memory card sits right beside the battery and can only be accessed from the same port. And yes, this has a micro HDMI, which is sure to become a frustrating point of contention for use with any type of monitor. And at this size, yeah, the camera can overheat. I've had it in quite a few very warm environments and haven't experienced overheating. Making something this size and allowing it to shoot at these resolutions will come with compromises. I've also noticed that occasionally you'll get this lag and stutter on both the LCD screen and your external monitor, and it normally happens when you change settings or make adjustments. It didn't compromise my ability to film, but I did find it frustrating. It's crazy to think that this tiny camera can deliver a 6K 422 10-bit image and freaking 6.2K raw recording externally. I gave this XS20 to my actors in a new found footage short film I'm working on as their character camera. And with no shooting experience, it was amazing to see some of the shots they managed to get while performing. This is not a tricky camera to use. And if you're more photo orientated, the Fuji X100 is just excellent for photos. The big selling point for the camera is of course the film simulations. There are 19 in total to choose from, and along with the application of some film grain can provide a beautiful look and texture to your photos. You can also use film sims and capture raw photos simultaneously in case you really want to edit them in post. But you don't need to stop there. You can actually apply these same film simulations to your videos as well, which can lead to some really funky and interesting results. And for those who think this is like some kind of Instagram filter, I suggest trying it before prejudging, as I think it can add a lot to your photography and even your video work. I actually really enjoy using the film sims for video. It's very unique. Yes, it bakes in a look that you have to commit to, but that look can be pretty cool. The 6K open gate mode is also a great option for content creators, with the more boxy dimensions providing options to crop and modify for different outputs. And it allows you to do all sorts of interesting things with your framing. And you can easily introduce things like, say, generative fill, AI tools, and Photoshop to sort of enhance your work in this type of fashion. The audio in the camera is also completely serviceable, although probably nothing to write home about. As a non-Fuji user, the X100 was the perfect affordable introduction into the Fuji line, and will also scratch the itch of those wanting an X100 without the cost, providing that hipster photography feel while also delivering that complete filmmaker video functionality. So if you're thinking about the X100 or you're looking for a really small but really powerful camera for video that's cheapest in its class, then consider the Fuji X100. But if you want to see my review of some of the other 6K cinema cameras on the market that could provide direct competition to this cute little baby 6K, click on the video beside me. As always, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and I'll see you when I see you.